bullshit. This is a disaster. It's broken up in my hands. Not worked at all. Okay, let's get this one out. No, this is just cracking in my hands. Cool. You gotta make mistakes so that you can learn from it. Hey, what's up, dude? It's me, Lily Maitzig, aka Mae Ceramics. I'm a ceramicist here in London. Listen, I've been to the high street. I've got some stuff. We're gonna try and make some moulds today. I would like to make some oval trays and a big salad bowl out of slabs, but currently I don't have the correct sized plaster molds. So I'm gonna make them today, or try and make them. Join me as I do that. Fingers crossed. No promises, but you must try your best. Let's go. The aim of today's video is to show you how to mix plaster up. It's also kind of an experiment. I haven't made a mold like this before, so fingers crossed. Hoping to make an oval shaped tray. So I've got this contraption that I've set up, and I also want to make like a big salad bowl shape. So I have this lovely tub, which I'm gonna fill with plaster. Let's get going, you know? So what you need to do this, if you want to follow along at home, is a tub of water. I might empty that out a little bit. You also need something to put the mold into. A really easy one to do is just like in the bottom of a bucket like this, or a tub like this, or you can do something slightly more intricate like this guy. You also need a pouring jug, and I have some tools that I must have used last time. You also need plaster, which is really heavy. I'll show you. No, I'm not going to show you, it's too heavy. There's plaster there, just trust me, it's a big 20 kilogram, 25 kilogram bag of plaster. So you can get that from hardware stores, or like pottery supply places do it as well. It's mold maker's plaster. You can also use plaster of Paris. It's also known as gypsum plaster, I think. Have a little Google for good plasters to use before you order some. You also need a mask. Very important. Make sure it's a mask that is rated for use with silica, because plaster is a fine particle and you don't want to breathe it in. So yeah, this guy's an FFP3 mask, which is great for plaster, great for clay stuff. Make sure you do that, look after your little lungs. Work in a well ventilated space. Obviously I'm making a video right now, so I have the window closed, and I would do this with the window wide open, and maybe even do it outside, but it's a little drizzly, but you know, content comes first. It's not a very good way to live, I don't think. I'm going to talk you through the mold. So these are the raw ingredients of my molds. They are some aluminium trays that I got from a cool shop on High Street. Working with molds is like a little bit confusing because you kind of have to work backwards. I really have to concentrate when I'm thinking about it, because I haven't got that much experience with molds, but I'm pretty sure I'm doing it the right way in doing this. This guy doesn't quite fit in here, and if I pour plaster in here, which I am going to do, it will go into the sides. So what I've done is I have snipped off the rim end of this, so just like this rolled bit here, which is causing it to not fit. I've trimmed that off, and I have also put in the plastic that it was wrapped in, so that it's going to support the shape as I pour the plaster in, because it's thin aluminium, so it would probably just kind of dip like that, which I don't really want it to do. So I am, yeah, padding it underneath, supporting that shape. Also, you know, saving the planet a little bit, because I'm using that single-use plastic 2 times. Suck it, you know, you're not single-use anymore, you're a double-use bit of plastic. Love that for you. Obviously this is sticking up right now, so I'm just going to use some masking tape and stick it down. Okay, this is done. I'm feeling good about this. I'm feeling good about it. There's a way to measure how much water and plaster you need, but I'm not into that. I just kind of go by feel. Ooh. So with plaster casting, you always start with water to begin with. And please, for the love of God, don't use hot water. You've got to use cold water. Right, sorry, I am going to open the window. I don't want to breathe this in. Basically, you just kind of sieve plaster into the bucket until it can't really soak it up anymore. So it's gonna be quite a lot of plaster. So I'll see you very shortly. we're getting to the point where we might almost have enough plaster in here. So you can see it's starting to form little islands like that. That's what you want. And as soon as it's not soaking up anymore, that's when you stop. Okay, lovely. So now we are going to wait until this is soaked up. So it's going to be a few minutes. You see this starts cracking. What we want is for all of these little bits of plaster to have soaked up all that moisture, and then we're going to mix in with our hands. So if you're following along and you haven't removed your jewellery, do that now, because any plaster that gets in, especially if you've got like stones in your rings or whatever, you want to get rid of that. You see there's like chunks of plaster that's probably not great, but I don't care. Okay, we're going to start mixing. So I mix in with my hands. Oh shit, this is a disaster. It's already going off at the bottom. Maybe I should have done this in 2 batches. Okay, I am furiously mixing this. I don't know what happens if I just make the mold out of this anyway. Like, will it work? Probably not. I'm just gonna go for it. What is there to lose at this point, you know? Literally nothing. I've either wasted all this plaster or it will kind of work. And I'm hoping for the latter. I'm absolutely not optimistic. Look at that, it's like a slushie. This is going to be really bad, I know it. Right, any plaster that you have left over, don't, for goodness sake, put it down the drain, because it will ruin your pipes. What you need to do is keep it in the bucket that you mixed it in. Maybe you'll get a bonus mold from it, but you need to throw away any plaster that is left over. Right, I'm going to put this one on here because this is not a flat surface. Hopefully this is in the middle enough to be flattish. Alright, I'll see you in an hour when the stuff has gone off. It's the next day, and when I tell you that I am not optimistic about these molds having worked, I'm telling you the whole truth and nothing but the truth, so help me God. They're cracking around here, which isn't a great sign. The one in the bucket, which was just the plaster that I left like at the bottom of the bucket, has a big crack going through the middle. I don't know, it doesn't feel good. Also, usually this plaster is dried in like maybe 40 minutes and ready to demold then, but this I've had to leave overnight because it was super, like, genuinely like watery on the top, which is not a good sign. Hopes and prayers, but I think I'm gonna have to, oh fuck me. It's genuinely still soft actually on the top, so I'll see you in round 2 for plaster, but let's demold anyway because it's interesting. Okay, let's go. First one. Hey. I mean, it's in one piece. Very soft. This has come off the bottom of the mold, which of the tub, which isn't like a usual thing to happen, but oh, and you can see that this is all, oh my god, it's cracking in my hands. Not good. I'd say that this one's probably a fail. Let's move on. This one was the one that I actually cared about working. I mean, I wanted that one to work as well, obviously, but this one was slightly more important and I put more thought into it. So I've got to say I'm less optimistic about this one, but it's still, you know, it's worth your hopes and prayers. Just broken up in my hands. Oh no! Not worked at all. Okay, let's talk about this. So, had it worked, it would still It'll be quite interesting, I think. It did kind of bow here, so I might need to put a little bit extra padding in for the next time I do it, because that has translated into the mold, so that would translate into my clay. I might even double layer the tins so that they don't warp under the weight of the plaster next time. Let's get this one out as well. No, this is just cracking in my hands. Cool. Okay, so it's gone from okay, not great, absolutely not. So the reason that they haven't worked is, I think, a couple of things. So one, the plaster was old, and I didn't know that plaster expires, but this plaster finished its goodness in 2021. So that's obviously an issue. I only realized that when I looked at the bag yesterday when it felt weird. Two, I think I might have maybe mixed up a little bit too much and I was working too slowly. So the plaster started going off before I could properly mix it. But in addendum to that, it started going off too soon because the plaster in the bag was exposed just to the studio. It was just sort of sitting underneath my table, and it was exposed to that quite damp environment, and so the quality of the plaster went down quite a lot. And I think sort of semi starts hardening, and so when you add water to it, it just goes off way quicker than it should. So I think that I also probably didn't have enough plaster to water. So I had too much water in my mix, didn't add enough plaster, but because I could feel it was already going off, I started mixing it too early. So you can see that this is such a high amount of water in here that there's been no setting happen. Whereas this one, because it was the first one that I cast, it's a little bit harder. All in all, quite interesting. I'm gonna order another bag of plaster and try again. Unfortunately, I'm gonna have to throw all of this away. So yeah, I'm a little bit bummed, but it is what it is. What can you do? You gotta make mistakes so that you can learn from it, and your girl's making a mistake, so you don't have to, babes. I'm gonna clean this up, move on with my life. I'll see you in about a week. My plaster arrived. But it's real heavy. No, we can only go up from here. Last week was abysmal. This week could not be abysmal. Maybe we'll have some great luck. Okay, we're back. It's been a week. I have new plaster. I have my containers. I have amended this one. So I have put a second tray on the inside, and I've also put some more of that plastic from last week underneath, so it's a little bit more solid now. And I think I've decided, instead of mixing it in the big bucket, I'm just gonna mix it in here and then take some out of this to pour in there. I reckon that's a more efficient way of doing it. Also, my plaster, it's in this chic bag though. Look at this. This matches, and je match also, you know, just call me a style icon. Okay, anyway, let's get started. This bag of plaster says 29th of the 7th, 2022. The current date is the 31st of August, aka the 8th, 2022. I hope that means when it was packed rather than like the best before date, but we'll see. Just like last week, I am gonna open the window. Sorry if there's any outside noises, but your girl's gotta protect her lungs. You know, I can't be making videos if I can't breathe. I'm also gonna be using a bigger scoop than last time. You can see that we're getting some islands forming, which is great. It's not hot yet, which is also great. And once this starts getting waterlogged, then we'll start mixing it. All right, I'm gonna go for it. This feels so much better than last time. When I tell you that last time, like, it just felt so wrong. This feels so right. So when you are mixing up plaster, you should do it with your hands. You can feel lumps in it. They shouldn't be sharp like I felt last time, but it should feel like pancake consistency, and there'll be like little pockets of plaster that you need to squeeze and kind of just mix in, like you can see on my hands there. Okay, I'm breaking the rule, mixing with 2 hands because I really want to get that plaster mixed in. Ideally you should mix with 1 hand so that you can have 1 hand free of plaster, but I'm just too nervous, you know. It went wrong last time and I'm not really willing to have another fail. I probably could have avoided this lumpiness by waiting for that top layer to settle in, but again, I was too scared. I'm going to use this to pour in some plaster into this other mould. You can see that this consistency is much nicer. It's like pancake batter, and that's what you're after. Okay, so a reminder, don't wash this with water down the sink because the plaster will harden, so you need to scoop out as much as you can and then leave the plaster to harden, and you can get it off later when it's dry. You can sort of flake it off and then grab some newspaper or something like that to wipe your hands with. You can bang your piece on your work surface to get any bubbles coming up to the top. And then I'm going to put this over here to dry. Same thing with this one. Smooth it over with my hands. So with plaster, you might have heard the term going off, or actually I've said it a couple of times in this video, is that the plaster is going off, and that means it's starting to harden. So it's doing its chemical reacting with the water that I've added to it, and it is getting hot. And the heat is just like a good indication that it is doing what it should be doing. And once it starts going hot, you shouldn't be mixing it anymore, otherwise you'll get what I got last week. I'm pretty excited about these guys hardening up. Ideally in about an hour I should be able to flip them out and have a look at them. We'll check on them and I'll keep you updated. See you soon. One very good thing is that my plaster is actually dry on the top now. You can see that it's actually pretty hard already. This one as well, and they're like hot. Last week at this stage, the pieces were still wet, like they had water on top and weren't hot, so I know that it's gone better already. I'm feeling good, feeling optimistic. It's time to demold. They are still kind of warm, but definitely on the cold side. This one first, I'm very excited about this one. I'm going to first of all kind of like pull the foil away, and then I'm going to flip it over. Okay, moment of truth. It can't be worse than last week, so whatever happens, I think is going to be a good result. It's important when you're working with plaster to use things like this that have not an undercut when you are releasing your molds, so that you can do this. You can push on the bottom and it will come out. If you imagine that this lip comes in, then you're going to release the mould and it's not ever going to be able to come out of it. So yeah, maybe I should have chatted about that at the start, but here we are. Woo! I think maybe the inside mould has come out with the cast, who knows? We can peel this off. Oh, it's beautiful. It's really good. Got some bits of tape stuck in it, which is just fine. Because this is going to be the bottom of the mould, like I will roll a slab and then I will put the clay in here this way. So it doesn't matter too much if the bottom is a little bit messy because I can clean it up quite easily. But I'm happy with this being the slightly messier bottom. People who make molds all the time maybe will disagree with me on that. I don't mind like spending a bit of extra time tidying stuff up. Oh, it looks so good. Now my big salad bowl. Still feels a little bit warm, but nothing too major. So again, I'm just gonna kind of release it from the mold here. I like working with things like plastic or like foil or other like silicone is a good one as well with plaster, because you can push against the container that you pour your plaster into. It means that you can kind of squish it to push the whole thing out. If you're using something that's quite rigid like glass or ceramic or like hard metal or whatever, then you might have a bigger issue removing things from the cast. I don't know if I'm using cast or mold correctly. I think this is a cast. This is a mold, right? But soon that will become a mold. Yeah. When I put clay in that, that's become a mold. But currently, this is a cast. This is a plaster cast. I think so. Anyway, let's give this a go. Yeah, boy! Yes! Look at that, it's so nice. Oh my god, I can't wait to make a bowl in this. That's been a real success. I'm going to quickly clean up around these edges. So you can see these sharp bits here. That is always going to flake off, and little bits like that can end up in your work. So you kind of want to soften this edge a little bit. So the way that I am going to do that is by taking my cake turner tool, my banding wheel. I'm just going to put a towel on it because I don't want to mess up this mold while it's still a little bit soft. And I'm going to take my rasp tool, this guy, and I'm just going to shave these edges. I'm going to do the same thing with this one. If you don't have one of these rasp tools, you can use a wooden knife tool or a metal rib. You can just hold it against this and drag it. But it's actually a really important step to do at this stage when the plaster hasn't completely hardened, but there's still quite a lot of moisture in it. That feels a little bit safer now. I don't think anything is going to catch and flick off into my clay. So here I can plastic and the plaster will fall off, so I'm going to do that. And I have my sponge here, which is my specific to plasterwork sponge. And I'll use that to wipe this out. And the reason I have like special sponges just for plasterwork is because, girl, you don't want plaster in your clay. It creates havoc. It's gonna make little explosions or cracks or whatever. It's not good. So I keep everything separate. So that's done. For these extra bits of plaster, in these like plaster crumbs. I'm going to be really careful with it to make sure that I discarded it properly and it doesn't get into any of my clay. And I'm going to give it a real quick sponge down as well, just to get rid of any little plaster crumbs that I've missed. Hiya, what's up? It's been like 2 weeks I think since I made these molds, and I just wanted to show you a couple of examples of pieces I've made from them. This guy, the oval mold, this is like just a plain oval dish made from it. I've put a little foot ring on it, it looks quite cute I think. This is maybe one of my favourite things I've ever made, is this strawberry platter, obviously made with that shape. And then I put little sprig mould strawberries onto it, so I'm very happy with that, excited to see that fired. I don't really know how I'm going to glaze it, but that's a decision for another video perhaps. And then onto the bigger salad platter mould. I have made some bigger salad platter dishes. Obviously this one I love. This guy out of terracotta, which you can tell I've done because I've fully discoloured the mould. It's fine though, doesn't matter. It just kind of looks like a container after you have like spaghetti bolognese or something in it. And it's like, how is this still here? I've washed this 700 times. Yeah, I'm trying to make a video fun. And then lastly, I've made this dish here, which it hasn't been fired yet, so I'm being like quite careful with it, which is why I picked it up like a maniac. It kind of looks like a wheel. It's like a fruit bowl. Imagine it with like some pears in it, or like oranges, or like clementines with their leaves still attached, you know. I've had loads of fun with these molds and I am really enjoying like doing some more slab work. Good luck with your mold making. I'd love to see any molds that you do end up making and any finished pieces. Let me know in the comments if you need any clarification or if you have compliments to give me, complaints. Don't give me complaints, I don't really want them. If you want to follow me on social media, please do. I'm at mae.ceramics on most things. Lovely to be here. See you in 2 weeks for another video. Bye.